On this week's FPL Happy Hour.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it'll be just like I beat you this week in FPL points. Maybe it'll be again the same next week. You know.
Well, you get a couple of weeks that you can have per season where you do better than me. It just happens to be game week 1.
Hello and welcome to FPL Happy Hour, episode 7 of season 3, with myself Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup on Twitter.
And myself, Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Rob, how are you, mate?
Good. Had a good weekend and even better experience at, well, it's not White Hart Lane, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday afternoon, which as a neutral, just experiencing that atmosphere. It was absolutely amazing. I haven't had a chance to sort of watch it back on the TV, but apparently, like, you could hear how loud it was and how sort of good everything was. But then it was the same across all the games. Brentford on Friday night, like when they scored, the camera was shaking, and United on Saturday lunchtime, like they did the whole Varane unveiling just before kickoff, and it just got the crowd sort of into a frenzy, and that was, it was just brilliant. I think we're going to see that for a few weeks whilst people are like enjoying being back at football properly. And I think it's the last 18 months or so has kind of made people realise how good we've got it with being able to go and see live sport.
Yeah, I can't wait to go next week to the West Ham game. I'm really looking forward to that home game.
It'd be a shame about the result, though, won't it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it'll be just like I beat you this week in FPL points. Maybe it'll be again the same next week. Well, you know.
Well, you get a couple of weeks that you can have per season where you do better than me. It just happens to be game week 1. Come back to me in game week 38.
Start as you mean to go on. Right. Okay. Let's start on with the podcast today. So I put out on Twitter earlier our new agenda for the season. So we've got a new kind of agenda of the way that we're going to be working this year. So I'll talk you through this episode. So this one's a pre-record, and every week we're going to be going through our teams, talking through how we did the previous game week. Give you a mini league update in that update as well. We're then going to be doing a new ones to watch series. So myself and Rob will pick one player each that we really like based on the previous game week. So only based on the previous game week. Could be eye test or statistics, and then why we like them for the next week. We'll then do our usual hot topics, where we'll do a community hot topic and our own hot topic, where we'll pick one topic each that we like to look at, and then just a 5-minute first impressions for the next game week, any transfers that we're looking to make, captaincies, and that's it. Right, and then we've got our obviously Thursday live stream or Fridays. I think a lot of them the next few weeks are going to be Fridays because there's no game week deadlines until Saturday, so it'll be always the day before the stream.
Yeah.
Sorry, the day before the
night before.
Kickoff? Night before. Right. Okay, let's look at our game week 1. Do you want to go first as you were last, or do you want me to go first because I was first? What would you like?
You weren't first. You were wherever 500,000th or whatever it was.
Better rank than that, mate.
Me taking out Ben Rama on Friday afternoon to put in Buendia was probably my biggest mistake of the week. That's the difference between a good week and a bad week, I think. I mean, everyone had.
I did try and convince you. Listen, I did try and help you, mate. I did try and help you.
You didn't convince me enough. You must do better. Everyone had Sanchez for his 2-pointer. Everyone had Trent for his 6-pointer. Soufal only a 1-pointer. Disappointing from West Ham defensively. overall. Shaw 1 point. Again, disappointed. I mean, it was an absolute worldie by Luke Ayling to get him back in it. And Pogba stole all the assists, so Shaw couldn't come away with anything, and then got a yellow card for, I think it was like for like a push. It was like a nothing yellow card. Sami Cass becoming like one of the best value picks of the game to start off with his 6-pointer. He's probably going to get a price rise. We're recording Monday evening, and there's price rises due tonight. He'll get a price rise tonight, and probably again before deadline. So he might be one that, if you haven't got him, bring him in. Bruno, 20 points, absolutely insane. Yeah, settled the Bruno versus Bruyes debate quite comfortably, and not a penalty in sight. Yeah, he was. I mean, between him and Pogba, well, the whole of the midfield for United were just awesome. And yeah, Bruno coming away with a hat trick, Pogba getting 4 assists, Fred getting a goal as well. McTominay could have got a goal early on. Yeah, I think that midfield's something to keep an eye on for United. Harvey Barnes, disappointing for only the 3 points. Leicester a bit underwhelming on Saturday. Salah did the job for everyone that was, well, I think everyone that owned him pretty much captained him. There was a few out there that captained Bruno, but yeah, Salah was a huge effective ownership. Buendia, disappointing. Ings got a penalty in the 94th minute for a return, which was good, but yeah, no alarms there. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that once Villa have settled a bit more, the returns will come for him. It's like with Martinez. Those that got Martinez in goal, like, I wouldn't be panicking. Yeah, it's the fact that Villa have got so many new signings and probably didn't have their first choice 11 out. I think, yeah, Dean Smith's got like a bit of work to do to work out what his best combination of players is on the pitch. And once he's got that, yeah, we should see quite a tight ship at Villa, and the returns will come for the forwards. And then Antonio did the business as well yesterday. So yeah, 94 points, 95 points, which isn't great, but it puts me in a better position than I was after game week 1 last year, where I was outside the top million. Yeah, game week rank of 716k. So yeah, happy days for me. How did you? Well, we kind of got the gist how you got on, so you may as well just tell us all about it.
But I said at the beginning of the season, my strategy was to do the ownership strategy, to have 8 or 9 high-owned players and get 2 or 3 differentials, and hope that those 2 or 3 differentials bang. On the Thursday, where we had the lock-in stream, or the kind of last order stream, I had Mahrez in my side, and I thought about it during the day, and I really liked Greenwood, and I thought, without Martial potentially starting, I think Greenwood would have a good run of 2 to 3 games, and the fixtures were good enough for United. So I decided to put Greenwood in. I also then put Ayling in as well, instead of a 4 million defender. So I've got 1 million on my bench. So my
he's
2 differentials.
He's your third bench, isn't he?
He is my third bench. Yep. He was firmly sat on my third bench. So my 2 differentials were Ben Rama, who smashed it, who I've been going on about before Hindu Monkey, who's taken the claims for it on Twitter, Benny Bullet. Loads of people kind of getting on that bandwagon. Yeah, I spoke about him 4 weeks ago on episode 1. Really, really liked the look of him for this season, and then obviously after pre-season, even more liked him even more. So he got good 12-point return, and then my other differential was Greenwood. So both of them did really well. So 111 points I finished up on, and a game week rank of 45,000. So cannot complain with that for game week 1. All the others are very similar players to you. I think the only difference that I've got is Tony and you've got you went with 4-4-2, and I went with 3-4-3. Other than that, all the players are pretty much the same as the Twitter template. So yeah,
it's not a bad week for you. It's just inside the top million then, yeah.
Just inside there, 44,000. Right, do you want to give a mini league update?
Yeah. So the mini league. Oh, that's just got the code up. So the mini league currently is led by Dara Cunningham, who got a whopping 124 points. So he's outdone you completely. You're not even on my screenshot.
I know.
Those on YouTube can see. If I did it for the top 20, I think you'd have made it onto the screenshot. But yeah, there's Dara that's on 124, and then there's who's that? Fasikin Samson on 116, then a few on 115, a few on 113, and then there's loads on 112 and 111. So yeah, loads of people hitting club 100 this week, and it's a long way to go. Before you know it, I'll be in the screenshot, and you'll be crying
ahead of you.
But for those that haven't entered the mini league yet, it is still open. We'll close it. I think we said game week 5. We'll close it for entries, and the code is 1PQSLT, and you'll see the auto join link at the bottom of in the YouTube description or in the podcast description at the bottom of your screen.
Right, let's move on to our one to watch section now. So these are players that we like to look at for game week 1, and we think they'll do well in game week 2, either because we liked their statistics or we liked their eye test. So yeah, let's go with that. So I picked my player was Callum Wilson, who I really liked the look of. I said to you in the stream on Thursday that I knew that he would score against us because he's got such a good record against us. But watching him, he was always up and about. St. Maximin had a really good game after I berated him on the stream on Thursday night. I've never doubted St. Maximin's potential there. It's just his injury problem. And whilst he's not injured, I think Wilson and St. Maximin a really good option. They play Newcastle play Villa, who conceded 3 against Watford. Villa are at home against Newcastle, but Newcastle I could see that game was just going to be a very high scoring game. We know that since Steve Bruce's assistant came in January, the last 6 months where they were playing in the league, they've been such a different side from an attacking point of view. That didn't change on yesterday. They were threatening a lot in the first half. Second half, I think the last 20 minutes we dominated, but they were still making lots of chances. Wilson is obviously, we know how good his quality is. We know you give him the ball and he'll finish it. To get in between the 2 West Ham defenders and get that header in to score was great. Statistics wise, so he got 6 FPL points, 1 goal, 4 shots, 2 of those shots on target. So we know that he's shooting. And to be honest with you, it's difficult to say from one game week worth of stats. The main things from a striker point of view is, are they shooting and are there shots on target? 4 shots, 2 shots on target, I think is a good judge for that. So I think, and Villa's, Villa's shots on target per 90 was 7, so they conceded 7 shots on target against Watford, which is massive. So yeah, I'm backing Wilson to score this weekend.
I mean, we have to say, credit to Watford on Saturday as well. They really took the game to Villa. Salah was brilliant. He's someone that I think over the course of the season will pick up returns. Everything goes through him in that Watford side, and we saw that. And the Nigerian Dennis, he was unplayable at times. That Watford team, they're very different to what they were in the Championship. They've made some good signings, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform moving on. But yeah, I mean, I like Wilson at 7.5 is decent value. Like you said, though, I think ASM's fitness is fairly important to Wilson because of the creativity that he provides. Like we spoke quite length on the live stream the other night. It's the only question with Newcastle is the creativity. Where does it come from when he's not there? But they've got Willock in there as well. That's did really well at the end of last season. And it's creative. The likes of Almiron at times last season hit a bit of form, especially towards the end when they were playing in this sort of different style. So yeah, hopefully that comes good. And well, whilst we know that ASM is going to be fit for next week, barring something horrible happening in training during the week, which is going to happen now that you've picked Wilson as your one to watch. Yeah, he's a good option. It all depends what Villa turn up on the day. Really, will it be the one that we saw as defensively sturdy last season? Well, even then, I think it was more Emi Martinez sturdy last season, or will it be the one that turned up the other day? And even I think it was Watford's second goal. They kind of went through Martinez a bit. Which was very strange and unlike what we've seen from him in recent times. My pick, after being at the game yesterday, is a bit out there, but I was really impressed in it. Stephen Burvine at 6 million and only 0.5% owned. I think that's a huge differential going into a game against Wolves away. So his performance yesterday or Sunday, so he picked up the assist for Son's goal, although it was a proper fantasy assist because Son must have had the ball for a good 10-15 seconds. He got 3 shots, one of them was on target, so 33% of his shots on target. One of those shots, which was off target, he should have put away and got himself a goal, to be honest. So where Wilson though doesn't have has that goal scoring ability, with Burvine you also get that creative side of him. So he got the assist, but he also had 3 shot creating actions on top of his goal creating action as well. Throughout the game, he had an XG of a non-penalty XG of 0.5 and XA of 0.1. The XG of 0.5, I think there's probably most of that is probably from the one-on-one chance that he put just wide, which is throughout that game yesterday, we're going to see a different Spurs side, maybe a different way they set up against Wolves, because they did sit very deep, played the counter attack, and they played it brilliantly. Will they be able to concede that much possession to someone like Wolves? Probably not. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, but I'm sure Nuno will probably want to find a way where he can still play that same front three of Burvine, Mora and Son, and try and use their pace effectively. But it's going to mean somehow trying to draw the Wolves defence out so that they can use that pace to get in behind them. And I'm still umming and ahhing whether they'll be able to do it, but I think at 6 million, it's worth the gamble on it. Especially as they've got other good fixtures coming up afterwards. With Wolves on Saturday, they conceded 5 shots on target at an expected goals conceded of 0.8. So again, it's not great, but the quality of side is a lot better with Spurs than what Wolves faced. Who did they played Leicester, didn't they? Who were quite underwhelming. So yeah, I'd expect more from Spurs, who will be on a high as well from yesterday's result. So yeah, I'm going with Stevie Burvine as my one to watch, especially as with this sort of Kane saga that's going on. I think the longer that drags on, the more Burvine's going to play, and if he continues to produce the performances like he did yesterday, I can't see him being dropped because he was impressive. He's playing further forward than Moore and Son at times. Definitely, most of the time, like Moore tended to be the one that tracked back a lot more. But when they broke, it tended to be break from the right and then it would move across the left. And the amount of times Burvine had so much space on that left-hand side, and if they'd moved the ball quicker out there, he could have had a lot more joy. So that's my one to watch for this week.
Yeah, I think he's a good option. The only thing that I would say is he a better option than Ben Rama at 6 million? Also, that's
I mean, I think it's a case of if you had, say, someone like Gundogan, who we're not sure about his fitness at the moment, and you could free up 1.5 to then use to improve your forwards. You could move like a Callum Wilson or someone round, or a DCL or something like that up to a Vardy, if you wanted to, or you could leave that money in the bank to then use the move to Lukaku later on. Because I think a lot of people, like, that's the end game. I think for a lot of people is by game week 6 to have enough money there to be able to get that premium forward in Lukaku, because it doesn't look like we're going to get much else at the moment.
Yep, agreed. Okay, right, let's move on to our hot topics now. The first hot topic was a community hot topic that was voted for by the Twitter poll, and that is on Manchester City assets. So people want to know, should we be getting Man City assets in? If so, who should we be getting in? So we thought we'd have a look and see, if you did want to get Man City assets, which are the best options to go for. So I've picked 2, and Rob, you've picked 2. We're not going to go for a huge amount of statistics with this one. We're just literally just going to look at the players that we like the look of. We might put in a few statistics here and there. First thing to note is, before we go through the players, if people have got Man City assets, other than Gundogan, who may have an injury, should they be keeping them?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the result yesterday, to be honest. And like, I fear for Norwich. Like, wasn't it? Was it last season where didn't they lose to someone? Might have been Spurs. They lost to Spurs and then they played Burnley. It might have been. And yeah, you get that. I think it's the perfect game for City to go right, heads on. Let's go and smash someone. And yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better fixture, really, could you? No offense to the hundreds of Norwich listeners out there, but yeah, I think I wouldn't be panicking about any City assets at the moment.
Okay. And I guess the other question is, I know for our particular teams, and we'll talk about this at the end, we're probably going to roll our transfers. But if we had problems in our team and we were going to make a transfer, would you look at bringing a City player in?
I think it depends who would you be taking out? That's the thing, because the City players they're a lot of premiums. So you'd have to be looking for some value out there. and it's like Varane's probably the most obvious value-wise, but you don't know whether he'd start or not. So there's no point in that. So then you're looking at, like, if you wanted to bring in Cancelo or Diaz to play at the back, but we'll touch on this in a minute about Cancelo. I'm not sure about whether he'd play. But then you're thinking, well, to get one of them, I need to you're either taking a -4 or you're getting rid of TAA. Would you take out TAA before Burnley at home? No. So I don't think I don't think there's any point, because it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a point. It's most likely to cost you a -4 to bring in a City asset.
So for those that do want to bring in a City player, because there will be people out there that are scared about the City game and want to bring in a City asset, my two players that I've chosen are Cancelo. Now, I know you don't think that he will start, and we had a heated argument earlier where I was like, no, Cancelo, I want to talk about Cancelo, and you're like, he's not going to start. I think there is a good chance that he will start. I mean, you were at the game and you didn't think that he had that many good chances. But from the stats of yesterday's game, he had 1 shot in the box, 3 shots in total, 4 touches in the box, 3 crosses, 3 chances created, 1 big chance created. From a stats point of view, for a defender, that is very good for one game, in my opinion. Although you don't seem to think that those were basically meant anything.
I mean, from where I was sitting, him and Mark, have you noticed how they look exactly the same now? They both got their bleached hair. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And so there was times I was like, and because one of them's number 24 and one of them's number 25, so you could barely tell which one was which, even by the shirt number. I think my concern with Cancelo is purely that there's no out and out striker there, because he likes to cross the ball, and he puts in a good cross, but there's no one on the end. There's no one there to be on the end of it, and he's pumping the ball into like Raheem Sterling, who's like smaller than a primary school kid. Like, he's tiny. And he was up against the likes of Davinson Sanchez, and it's like, he's not out jumping him. But I mean, with De Bruyne looking like he's back, would that help? Because De Bruyne, I think, will probably move into more of a false 9 role, because I can't see Jesus starting. So it might help that. But I mean, with Cancelo, I'm also very wary that the likes of Kyle Walker, John Stones will be coming back in, and whether that means that we see City change it up and go 3 at the back, but we haven't really seen that recently. But there was long phases last season where Pep seemed to prefer Kyle Walker as his foundation fullback, and it's like the one that he'd want just to settle the game, and then Cancelo is his more adventurous fullback, and it's whether he thinks let's give Walker a run out because it's Norwich, and then give Cancelo the last 20-25 in preparation for the next couple of games where they've got Arsenal and then they've got Leicester. So it'll be that. That's why I'm just very wary about João Cancelo this week.
So the other player that I think is an option, but I don't think he holds too much value from value for money point of view, and that's Sterling, 12 million. He did look lively yesterday, and I just think, Norwich is the type of game that I can see him scoring a hat-trick. Don't know why, he just loves to do it. He scored last season. I can't remember where he scored the hat-trick. Maybe it was against Brighton. yeah, I like Sterling. Stats wise, he didn't really perform yesterday. 1 shot in the box, 1 shot on target, 1 shot in total, 8 touches in the box, 1 cross. So from a stats point of view, they weren't great. But I just think he's the type of player that likes to bully these smaller sides and can go and deliver.
Don't fancy Mahrez then now?
Not after the way that he played yesterday. Didn't look great, did he?
I mean, that's made me laugh really, because I was against the Mahrez thing a couple of weeks ago, and everyone was sort of piling into him in their like tinkering, and I just couldn't see it. And then he disappointing in the Charity Shield, disappointing again yesterday. But then he could go and bang 4 against Norwich.
Yeah,
like he's that sort
yeah.
of player.
Yeah.
But my picks, one player that really impressed me yesterday, and I think he just continues to impress, is Jack Grealish. He seemed to be a lot of. It's not often you see a player go into a top quality side like Man City, and instantly sort of demand the ball and want the ball, and then try and make things happen with the ball. And a lot of the play tended to go through him at times, and I think being at City, I think it's going to just make him even better. Like he was a great player at Villa. We saw glimpses of it for England in the summer, where just that slightly higher standard of player that he's playing with just brought him to this next level. But there was times yesterday where you went, wait a minute, this guy's really good, and he might go like even to that next level. The ball just sticks to his feet. I think he's got this. Like, there's other players out there when they've got something to prove, they kind of fall into their shell a bit. Whilst he seems to be, it just seems to have blown his confidence up even more, and he's just really trying and looking to create things. Creating chances, taking shots. He had 3 shots yesterday with 1 on target, which isn't great, but he also there was lots of creation. He did like shot creating actions. He had 5 of them throughout the game. It's just trying to make things happen. I really like Jack Grealish moving forward, and he's someone that I think at some point in the very near future, and if it wasn't likely to cost me a hit to bring him in this week, I'd probably be looking at him. But I think at some point, once they've got past sort of game week 3 and 4, I might be looking at bringing him in if I've got the money there to upgrade one of the 6.5, 7 millions up to him.
Offers good value at 8 million as well. I don't think is a bad price.
I think that's a really nice access into the City side. I think if with the situation with the no striker, I think it does him a favour because it opens up that extra spot, because like Sterling could probably play a little more central, which we saw at times, and him and Grealish at times kind of swapping around. There were times when Grealish was playing as the number 9, and I can see that as we go into the season, maybe we'll see it a bit on Saturday if De Bruyne starts. We'll see if De Bruyne, Sterling, and Grealish will start. We might see this this fluid interchange between the 3 of them, where 1 minute one of them's playing through the middle, tries to pull the centre half out, the other one then comes in to try and take advantage of that space that's been created. We might see a lot of that from City, especially with the way that they play with lots of short passing and trying to pull the defenders and the defensive midfielders around. So I really think that as long as he's consistently starting, which we'll find out from the game on Saturday, like if De Bruyne if the 3 of them all start, then I think that it's starting lineup. But I mean, for City, they spend a lot of money, but how often do they spend that amount of money?
No, yeah, they don't often spend a lot of money on one particular player.
Yeah, they spend like 40, 50 million on lots of players each. But yeah, to go, we're spending 100 million on you. They haven't paid that money for him to sit on the bench. Like at the end of the day, they've paid that money for him to take. They know his ability, and he's an important part of them taking them that extra step in Europe, really. So yeah, I really like him. Then the other one, which we've mentioned and needs no introduction, is Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, if you didn't fancy, this is the problem though. If you didn't fancy Bruno away to Southampton, and you didn't fancy Salah at home to Burnley, you can just move to Kevin De Bruyne, who's got Norwich at home. You've got the three best, arguably the three best FPL assets out there in De Bruyne, Salah, and Bruno, and the three of them have got. Probably you're not going to see a better combination of fixtures. Any other week, you'd probably make the move and do a hokey cokey with De Bruyne and Bruno or De Bruyne and Salah, but you're quite happy to stick with those two. But if you happen to have 5 million in the bank, that means you can upgrade one of your 6.5 or 7s up to De Bruyne, then feel free to. But I spoke about everything going through Grealish yesterday. With De Bruyne on the pitch, that can change. Where everything he's there, he makes them tick. Everything comes through him. The only thing with him, he does drift out wide to try and get create more space for himself, which we saw yesterday at times. And City, because they're not a crossing team, they don't look to move the ball out wide enough at times. But he's the sort of player that he can pick out Raheem Sterling in the middle of the penalty area with a low cross, like bending around a defender rather than a looping cross that would be looking for his head. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's not much to take from stats wise from yesterday. He was only on the pitch 10 minutes, but over the course of last season, even though he did struggle at times through injuries, he still managed to get 6 goals in 25 games and 12 assists in 25 games. So it's like an assist every other game. He's going to be a great asset. There was yesterday, the fact that he was on the bench meant he should have probably started. Like if you're fit enough to be on the bench, you're fit enough to start, really, not come on with 10 minutes to go and try and rescue a point for your team. The fact that there's that, and then the fact that they lost, I think Pep will really want to go out there and prove a point, and he'll play De Bruyne from the start. And then, if it is all comfortable with an hour gone, then bring him off. But you'd hope then, if it's all comfortable, he's come up with a return or two, and you'd think, like, if they score 4 or 5, you'd bank De Bruyne to have some part to play in, like, at least 3 of those.
Yeah,
really.
Okay, right. Let's move on then from City assets, and let's go on to our hot topic. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about transfers this week. Now, we are in a good position, Rob, where we're not going to be making any transfers, and we are going to be rolling. But a lot of people are talking about transfers and who to bring in and who to take out, and should they get Bruno because they made the mistake without going Bruno, and it kind of got me thinking about who would I be looking at bringing in, and who would I be thinking about taking out if I did have them. And I think one of the things that I've decided this season that I'm going to try and do a lot more of is try not to bring in transfers just because I like the player. Try to bring in transfers because the player that I'm replacing them with is a problem in my side. So, for example, if I didn't like Bruno's fixture this week, or I didn't like Salah's fixture this week, do I need to bring in De Bruyne when Salah and Bruno both got 17 and 20 points last week? They're not a problem. So why should I take them out, even though the player that I might be replacing them in KDB might do well? So that's what I'm going to try and do, because I feel like that's kind of like wasting transfers. But there are actual problems this week that people have. And a lot of people are thinking, should they bring in Bruno? So I guess before we go on, so we both picked out a couple of players that if we had them in our side, we would look at doing a transfer. But before we go on to that, let's just talk about Bruno for a bit. And if you didn't have Bruno in your side, would you look at bringing him in this week? Yeah, would you look at bringing him in this week? Obviously, some people have made the mistake and not gone with Bruno, and now they're like, do I get a hit to bring him in? Do I rectify that mistake? What would you do?
I think it would depend on when you're planning to wildcard.
Okay.
Because I think if you're planning to wildcard soon, then it might not be worth it. If you're like me and planning to maybe wildcard around game week 11 or 12, I'd probably take a hit and bring Bruno in now. I think if you're planning to wildcard in game week 4 or 5, I think you kind of just have to bite the bullet.
The problem is that if you haven't got Bruno, the likelihood is you've got Son and Salah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally, you would expect if you don't have Bruno,
you haven't got Bruno, you've got to have another. You'd have to have another premium midfielder in there.
Yeah, or Lukaku. I've seen some sides of people have Lukaku from game week 1. I don't know why they would have him from game week 1, but some do. So let's go on the basis that you don't have Bruno, but you have Son and Salah. And in order to get Bruno, you need to get rid of one of them. Is it then worth it?
Tough
question, right?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Not before no.
No, I agree.
Because I think Spurs, you'd want to see them against a team like Wolves, but if at the moment if Spurs are gonna if they score, you'd expect him to be involved in some way. Then they've got Watford, then they got Palace, so it kind of takes him out of it. Salah's the interesting one, because you could consider having Salah this week and sticking with no Bruno, and then game week 3 when Liverpool play Chelsea, you could come off Salah and go to Bruno.
Yeah.
Where he's got Wolves, and then you could then go keep him for Newcastle, and then go back again to Salah in game week 5 when Liverpool play Palace, if you wanted to. So that's what I would do if I owned Salah and didn't own Bruno, and I was planning to use my wild card early. I'd probably just do those little moves just to navigate my way through it. Like you're gonna fall behind, but I think you're reducing your deficit that way. If you were long term, if you're going something longer, like I said, I'd consider taking the hit and getting him in.
Okay, let's look at some other players then that people might have made a mistake with on game week 1, or let's not call it a mistake because we don't know yet, but might have had in the side for game week 1, and whether or not they should stick or twist. So Iheanacho is a player, 12% owned. If you had him in your side, would you look at moving him on to a different player?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think there was alarms when he didn't start in the Charity Shield, and then when he then didn't start then, I couldn't believe that his ownership didn't drop. I felt like it should have dropped quite considerably, and to still be over 10% owned is pretty insane, really. I don't think he's nailed at all to start, and probably won't be for a while.
I think that's an easy switch to Antonio, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just simple. I do completely agree with Iheanacho. Just if you've got him, just get rid.
Gundogan, maybe, depending on whether or not we hear any team news beforehand about his injury. I think if he's injured, you need to move him on. I think I've seen a few teams. I know he's not high percent owned, but Maddison, he came off a bit early. Would you stick or twist with Maddison?
I think it's a wait and see at the moment.
Wait and see with Maddison.
Yeah, like I think anything injury related, it's a wait till Friday.
What about
get
if
some more
it's a
information?
COVID? What if it's a COVID ping like Veltman? So he wasn't in the side because he had you've been in close contact with someone. He then wasn't in the side. He's fairly highly, and a lot of people have Veltman. Would you look at moving him on or keeping him in?
Wait for news. If it's something like that, then it's likely that he probably got it that day, and it was too late to then get tested. But we know that every Monday the clubs all do. I think they do them like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something. Like they're off. They do them every couple of days, and so you'd expect him to have had a test either on Saturday or yesterday or today.
Okay.
And by the time we get the team news, we'll know whether he's in the side or not. If he's not in the side, probably look elsewhere, because depending on who your other defenders are, which leads me into one of my ones. Should we go with that?
Yep.
Yes, mine at the moment would be Ben White. Now he's not in my side, but he is owned by, I think it's like 23.6% of owners. I think there was a lot of red flags going on with Arsenal's defending against Brentford. Now, Brentford did play this very high press, and it did put the Arsenal defence under pressure. But this is an Arsenal defence that like people were shouting about, saying they look a lot stronger. They don't look any stronger. I think Jamie Carragher summed it up when the second goal for Brentford went in and just went, same old Arsenal. And like, how often in the Premier League do you see a ball come in and it bounced in the 6-yard box? It bounced in this, like, you don't see that in Sunday League football. Like, it gets cleared, and they allowed that to happen. It was just such a soft goal, and it was just alarm bells for me on owning any Arsenal defensive assets. And at 4.5, I think on the other hand, you could look at the likes of Sanchez, Dyer, Tanganga, Spurs. Whether Romero comes in and replaces one of them, you don't know yet, but they're all the same price, and they looked a lot more assured defensively. That's one to think about for me. I think that ownership does not represent a valid FPL asset, in my opinion.
The only thing that I would say, I like, for me, I do have Ben White. He's on my bench at the moment. I'm not looking to start him until game week 4. So me personally, I would rather roll the transfer. There's no need to bring him in at the moment. I would rather see what happens in game week 2 or 3. If you're starting him and you've got no other bench options, then I think, that's a fair shout, like to take him out and bring someone else in. But if he's on your bench, I don't think it's worth it because you don't know what's going to happen in game week 2. I would much rather be in a position where I have him on my bench, and then in game week 3, when I come to do my 2 transfers, I could look at taking him out then, or there might, I might want to bring in Kane, for example. So I might need to use 3 transfers to bring in Kane and do some. I'd rather do it on players in my starting 11 than people that are on my bench.
I mean, I think for a lot, because there's a lot of teams out there with Veltman and White, and then a 4.0, and they'll have.
That's when you have a problem. Yeah.
I think, if your 4.0 isn't Sami Cass, then you're in trouble. And there's a lot of people out there with 2 4.0s because they'll have Sami Cass and then they'll have their bench fodder 4.0. And then, you've got yourself in a bit of a problem because, if Veltman is out, then you're really struggling to field a side that's going to get you a player that's going to get you points. Because, with these next 2 game week fixtures, if you have to play Ben White because of injuries, then you're in the shit really. And if I had the choice, and then if you had the choice between getting rid of Veltman or Ben White, you'd keep Veltman despite the COVID because he's got the slightly better fixture against Everton in 3, and then he's got Brentford in 4, which could be Brighton v Brentford could be a cracking game, to be fair. The
only other player that I was going to mention, and he's currently got the 2nd highest transfers out at the time of recording with 134,000 transfers. He's 13% owned, and that's Saka, 6.5. Do you kind of same notion with regards to White? Is it worth moving Saka on?
I think with Saka, he's more likely to get attacking returns, so I'm not as concerned. But you could. It depends. Does he look like starting at the moment? I'm not sure. And you spoke at quite great length last week about having a 6.5 on the bench. So, and you didn't like that from a midfielder. So I'd probably look at moving Saka on. But if I had the choice between moving on White or Saka, I'd probably move White on.
One that I don't agree with, and I'm really surprised about. He is the 6th most player to be transferred out so far this season. At the time of recording, 128,000 transfers. Can you guess who that is? He's 8 million.
It's most transferred out.
6th most transferred out, 128,000.
8 million.
And he recently made a transfer for 100 million.
Grealish.
Yeah, can you imagine? People are taking Grealish out already. 128,000 people have transferred him out. He's the 6th highest.
And he's just played. So he's just played 90 minutes. So he started you never expect him to start in the Charity Shield anyway.
Yeah.
But he made an appearance in the Charity Shield. That was 48 hours after he signed.
Yeah.
Started against Spurs. And then they've got Norwich next.
And 128,000 people have taken him out.
Where are they going with that 8 million?
Yeah,
Bruno.
Knows.
They're taking -4s to get Bruno in.
Maybe. See, I wouldn't do that.
Because they're moving him down to something like down to Brownhill or something, or Gilmore to then boost their 8 million up to somewhere. I mean, it's madness. It's absolute madness.
Yeah. Anything else to add on transfers in and transfers out? I just thought it'd be a good subject to talk about because I know a lot of people are thinking about it this week. And I just thought, let's talk about who would be worth it and who wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, I think if there's no major fires and you're reasonably happy with your side, just roll the transfer. Like there's other players that I'm like kind of I've yellow flagged for the moment, just to go, let's give him a couple more weeks. But right now it's a case of just wait and see. Like we haven't seen. It was quite noticeable that a lot of away sides didn't fare as well in their games. It was generally the home sides that did better. So will those sides then, like Villa are one of them, could playing at Villa Park spark them
Make a
back into
difference.
life?
Yeah.
It could do. City as well. Like, well, there's no atmosphere at the Etihad, so it might not make a difference. Liverpool back at home, back at full Anfield for the first time since winning the league. So it's there's lots of teams out there that could perform better at home. I'm still not sure whether Arsenal are going to be one of them though. I think they could be in a bit of trouble against Chelsea, and then even more trouble against City the week after.
Okay, so let's talk about our last topic, section of the podcast, which I think will be very, very short anyway, is our first impressions for the weekend, and if we are personally going to be making any transfers, or what we're going to be doing, and our captains. So I'll go first. I'm rolling 100% unless there's any team news that comes out during the week that means that I don't know, Salah, Fernandez, or one of those players are injured. Then I will definitely be rolling. And my captain, I'm still 50-50 if I'm honest. It was going to be Salah. I'm now thinking, is it worth doing Fernandez? Because that Southampton side did not look great. But then Salah versus bottom side teams always end up doing well. So I'm probably 70-30 Salah at the moment.
I think it's a good week to just trust your gut, because I think it's going to be very 50-50 with the captaincy.
That's me. I'm 70-30 towards Salah at the moment. What about you? I assume no transfers?
No, very likely. Veltman's the one that I'm going to be keeping an eye on for the press conference to decide whether I want to start him or not. But even then, I probably won't. I mean, my yellow flags at the moment are Barnes, Buendia, and Soufal at the moment. But I want to see a bit more from the West Ham defence, and whether he can cover that. Like, if they lose the clean sheet, whether he can cover that with some attacking returns. But I'm not writing him off after that one game, despite how disappointing. Same with Buendia, not going to write him off. I know that he's quality, and the same with Barnes. So I'm just going to roll and then reassess after game week 2. I'll have 2 free transfers to fix any issues, and so whether that will be moving Soufal down to a 4.5 to then upgrade Buendia or Barnes up to a Grealish. That could be an option for me. So
Captain?
I'm 50-50 at the moment. I might go Bruno just to be able to enjoy the game even more, or I might just leave it and keep it on Salah. But like I said, I think overall, I think it's just 50-50.
Okay. Right, that is the end of the pod. Before I move over to you, Rob, you probably haven't got any business to talk about.
No, we spoke about we did any other business at the start.
So the only thing that I will say is our Friday stream, our night before deadline stream is this Friday. I won't be making the next 3 because I'm away for the next 3 weekends. So we have got a fantastic replacement, better than me, Mr. James Johnson, who was our Italy correspondent for the Euros, and absolutely fantastic guy. And you'll get to meet him again on Friday. And so he's going to be doing the Friday stream and then the Monday one as well, because I'm at the West Ham game on Monday. So he'll be doing the Friday live, the Monday pre-record, and then the Friday live. Or next week, I think it's Thursday live. But anyway, he's going to be doing the next 3 live shows. So yeah, you're looking forward to working with someone else other than me?
Yeah, it'd be someone that doesn't chat shit. No, it'd be good. It'll be good fun to catch up with James. If Villa are still struggling, maybe he can give us all a bit of insight into how he feels like what the problem might be there at Villa, because he is a Villa fan, and then we might be able to get a bit of insight into what to expect from Mr. Lukaku, as obviously James is a big Serie A fan as well. So
and Romero.
And Romero as well. So it'll be really good to get his insight over the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Right. For those listening, thanks very much for tuning in. You can find us on Twitter at FPL_Happy Hour. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and a number of other podcasts. And our YouTube channel is FPL Happy Hour. Please like, subscribe, and share. All your retweets are appreciated. So until Friday, take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.